question was, if Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
The U.S. just bombed Iran, and I'm going to tell you exactly how things are going to go from here. The U.S. is going to say, we bombed all these nuclear facilities, Iran was violating agreements, now we're done. Mission accomplished. Everything's over. Iran is going to say, you bombed our country that is in active war. We are obviously going to retaliate, strike some American military bases, maybe kill some American civilians. We're going to say this terrorist government cannot be allowed to be in power in Iran. We either are going to support a coup that's going to overthrow Ayatollah Khamenei, or we are going to send in more American troops to go die and overthrow him manually. It's the same exact thing as what happened in Iraq, because it was never about weapons of mass destruction. It's never about nukes. It's always about making sure that their government and their natural resources go to the benefit of American multinational corporations. This wouldn't be the first time that we overthrew a government in Iran. In 1953, we overthrew the Democrat.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Baruch Shem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, noise in the gospel abroad, living up to the standard of Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is a quick lesson through the Spirit. It's that same script for the last 70 years. We must have your resources. And this is a video that was put up by the brothers from Arrows of Indignation. And basically it's going into how Esau justifies invading lands and blaming other nations for having certain artillery or weaponry just to be justified on stealing resources. Like the latest scam now is this whole thing of Iran having weapons of mass destruction, which they've been saying that shit since the fucking 70s and 80s, man. All right. And I've been saying it for the longest. I said that basically Iran, they don't have to necessarily create a nuclear weapon, even though they may have the materials to do so, okay, which is their God-given right, because, you know, who's to say that they can't defend themselves from a tyrannical dictatorship? You know, and the people, and you America, or you the American government, I mean, that speaks for itself. How these people go around and conquering and stealing and pillaging, this is what they do. You know, but they have the audacity to tell people, well, look, you can't have a weapon of mass destruction because for the simple fact, you know, you're going to use it on us. But wait a minute, man. You use shit on people all the damn time. You know, and that whole scare about Iraq or Iran having nuclear weapons has been nothing but a lie. But again, they don't have to have it because they have Russia. You know, they got Russia and China. And I've always said that. I said, well, even if Iran don't have a nuclear weapon, I said that, or if they did, they wouldn't tell you about it because they understand. But even if they didn't, they can still be supplied by the Russians. Because according to Ezekiel 38th chapter, Russia is to be a guard. It's like I got something, I was eating or something, so. But according to Ezekiel 38, Russia will be a guard into these smaller nations, man. All right. Now, it came out in the news that Trump, that he actually didn't destroy those nuclear depots over there in Iran, which I believe was just it was a flex or diversionary tactic, like I mentioned. You know, because honestly speaking, if he would have destroyed those nuclear sites, I'm pretty sure that, you know, things would have escalated by now, which they're still at war with the Israelis. But that, you notice there haven't been any attacks on the Western hegemony or infrastructure. And on top of that, the gas is still pretty much the same. So obviously America didn't do too much damage, you know, as they're leading on. Because Trump was talking about, well, yeah, we destroyed all their sites and this and this and that, which is a total lie. Okay. It came out that you didn't destroy shit, you know. But anyway, neither here nor there. So anyway, going back into this devil right here, Hillary Clinton. Just look at the look in this bitch's face, man. Okay, that's the total look of a sociopath, of a fucking devil. Okay, it says Hillary Clinton in 2008 will obliterate Iran if attack Israel. And everybody know that those small hats have been the culprit of chaos and war in the Middle East since they got there, man. going back into 1948 when they was implanted through that land through the Balfour Declaration, okay, which was not a fulfillment of prophecy. They were bombed that same very night. And then you go back into the 7-day or the war of 1967. I believe it was the 6-day war, if I'm not mistaken. But ever since the small hats have touched down in the Holy Land, there's been nothing but war on the planet Earth. Even before then, when Esau, even before then, because they mentioned that America has been in war 220 some plus years since its inception. All right. So, yeah, man. So I'm going to play the rest of this video and get a couple of precepts. But listen to this guy. I mean, he's going to break it down. So let's listen to what he got to say.
Iran is going to say, you bombed our country that is in active war. We are obviously going to retaliate, strike some American military bases, maybe kill some American civilians. We're going to say this terrorist government cannot be allowed to be in power in Iran. We either are going to support a coup that's going to overthrow Ayatollah Khamenei, or we are going to send in more American troops to go die and overthrow him manually. It's the same exact thing as what happened in Iraq, because it was never about weapons of mass destruction. It's never about nukes. It's always about making sure that their government and their natural resources go to the benefit of American multinational corporations. This wouldn't be the first time that we overthrow.
Right, it's all about corporations, man. Okay, now you got Palantir, but also you got what they called BlackRock and Vanguard, which hold over $10 trillion in assets, man. Okay, that's damn near 2/3 of America's debt right there that they own as far as assets. But yet they're in the $34 trillion debt crisis. But yet Vanguard owns $10 trillion in assets, man. Like, make that make sense. But it's all about corporations and lobbyists, you know, and banking cartels. And it's basically a big game of chess, you know, keeping the rich families rich and while, controlling the masses of the people and watch your slaves do the dirty work, man. And that's all the military is a bunch of slaves that go and they fight for the international bankers, man. You know, they fight wars and they die in these wars to keep the interests of the super elite, to keep them rich. You know, while you're dying and why when, you know, you're done fighting wars, you're pretty much left homeless. You know, you're pretty much a derelict at that point. You know, because the benefits once you get out of the military and you're injured, you know, they barely want to take care of their veterans, man. That's why you have a lot of homeless people on the heads of these streets asking for money and food and shelter because they don't take care of their veterans. So this ain't never been about freedom of the people. You people ain't free.
Government in Iran in 1953, we overthrew the democratically elected president Mohammad Mossadegh for the crime of wanting to nationalize Iranian oil so that the profits go to the Iranian people. And we replaced him with a member of the Persian royal family, the Shah, who did America's bidding and ran it according to our interest. It was overthrown in 1979, and the government that's there right now in Iran that we're having problems with is the same government that was overthrowing the last one that we overthrew of theirs. And get this, the guy that we want to replace the Ayatollah with is the son of the royal family member that we replaced the last government with.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, they want to set up small hats. Like when they replace and overthrow these regimes, they basically are putting in crypto Jews in there, man. Like I believe the president of Mexico, he may be a Malachite. Same thing in Venezuela. Fucking look at what they did to the Gaddafi, man. You know, when he surrendered, you know, his weapons and so forth, and you know, wanted to take everything and put it on a gold standard. What did they do to him? Exploited him and basically put him to death, man. You know, he wanted to have free energy for his people. You know, free energy, free water supply, free electricity. You know, actually doing something probable for his people. And what the U.S. government come in and do? They basically tricked him and they put him to death, man. You know, because you can't trust the devil, man.
Been doing the same shit for 70 years, and the oil companies and the military industrial complex will always come out on top. But people are waking up, and we are exposing them right here.
What should we be concerned about? Because, you know, we were talking about it all weekend.
I don't want to hear this bitch talk. Like, she gets on my fucking nerves, man. You know, so I'm not even gonna play the rest of it because, you know, it's funny how a nigga is all adequate on history now. You know, Jake, they look at a couple of TikTok videos and, you know, read an article from Google. Now Jake know what the hell is going on when just 2-3 years ago he was twerking in a damn nightclub on top of a fucking on top of a twerk table, man. You know, on headlights. You know, you didn't. Jake, our people played out. I'm about sick of you. But anyway, this is the book of Micah 2, and I'm gonna start at verses 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." That's going into the elites. Okay, it says, "When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand," and they pass down power to their judges, to their lawyers, you know, to their state's attorneys, you know, through their tribunal courts, and your Article 3 courts, and they give these people ultimate control over the people because, like, with the Supreme Court, that shit is unjust as hell. Okay, these court systems and police forces, they're all corrupted. Everything in Babylon the Great, from the top to bottom, from left to right, is all corruption, man. From the very house, from the very foundation they build your home on, is all corruption. From the educational systems, from the job you work, from the people you come across, it's all corrupt. Okay, this is a wicked system, and it has to be destroyed. And it says, because it is in the power of their hand. It says they covet fields and take them by violence, right? And this is what they've been doing, or this is what they're trying to do to overthrow the regime of Iran. Okay, because this guy Bibi Makowski, he wants to put an end to anybody that opposes him, man, so he can have the identity or assume the rights over people's resources. Like the Strait of Hormuz, that's responsible for 20 to 25% of the oil supply in the world. Not even counting Venezuela, but they have it's a lot of riches down there, and Esau, he wants control of that. So this is why he's going about and destroying these nations and harboring resources and trying to sabotage pipelines, like you had Nord Stream 1 and 2. Trying to disrupt pipelines going through Kazakhstan to the Middle East to Iran to steal the resources, man. Because ultimately, that's what he is. He's a thief. And it says they covet fields and take them by violence. It says in houses, and they take them away so that they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage, man. And not only did they oppress us, they oppress their own people. You got the average Edomite that can't even afford to pay rent because, rents are so high. Like I was downtown, considered downtown KC. I was going to get some food on my break. And I came across this property, man, and it was a townhouse. I'm like, they built townhouses in the middle of downtown Kansas City? Like, what? If anything, these look like lofts. So I'm thinking nothing about it because I know they're overpriced. So I took a screenshot of the name of the building so I could remember to look it up. So I looked it up, and then I looked on the website, and they wanted $825,000, which is roughly $5,000 a month for a 3-bedroom, 4-bath townhouse. Like, are you fucking kidding me? In Kansas City? Like, who got that kind of money? And even if they do got that kind of money, it ain't worth paying those prices here. Rents was never like that to that degree up until this pandemic came and this fucking mayor allowed these lobbyists and these particular development companies to come and borscht up all this property. Now everything is being cut down, and they're inflating the price to price out Jake. I'm thinking this is going to be like like maybe the average apartment here, maybe 10 years ago, 3-bedroom house apartment was probably going for about $850, $900. That's real shit. I'm talking about nice shit, high-end shit. I'm thinking the property may be about, since it's where it's located at, because real estate is location. I'm thinking it's going to be about $2,500 because, it looked pretty decent. $2,500, And even then, that's not doable. Like, who wants to do that for, a townhouse that's hit and miss, but ideally, you get a house for cheaper than that in some cases. Well, not no more, but, before, you was able to get a house mortgage for cheaper than that. But I looked, I'm like, ain't no way in fucking hell I'm getting ready to pay no $825,000 for no 3-bedroom townhouse. Like, you out your fucking mind, man. Like, that costs more than a damn condo. And honestly speaking, condos ain't nothing but overinflated apartments. Because when I was living in Chicago, my grandmother, she stayed in an apartment on the south side of Chicago. And they got the same exact apartment on the north side of Chicago, but instead they sold that one off because of the location, as they sold it off as a condo instead of a apartment, because condos come with HOA fees and this and that, so they're capitalizing on top of the consumer. But an apartment, you got somebody that own the building, whether it's a development or it's privately owned, and they charge their rents. But the same apartment she was paying for on the south side of Chicago was going for damn near $200,000 plus on the north side of Chicago, man. So it's all extortion, it's all robbery. That's all it is, man. And you stupid ass Jakes don't seem to get that through your mind. Oh, well, we got to try to get it the best way we can, man. Look, bro, this place is washed. It's through. Okay, let it go. Let it burn. Let this place fall, man. I'm tired of looking at it. But it says, take them away so that they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And that's what Esau did. All right. Let's go here. Sirach 12. Because Gaddafi made a fatal mistake of trusting the U.S. government. And this is the reason why what happened to him happened to him. You know, I never known that people that's trying to help their people to some degree was considered the enemy of the world. But they demonized him and they made it seem like same thing with Saddam Hussein, right? You know, they demonized him. Oh, he has weapons of mass destruction and this and this and that. In reality of it is he was trying to accomplish, you know, to get right for his people. And what they said he had weapons of mass destruction. They actually had us afraid of Saddam Hussein, which I'm not saying he was a saint because they all wicked as all hell. They're heathens. They're wicked. But they really had us thinking that Saddam Hussein was going to blow up the world, man. And we was really thinking that because of the witchcraft, the propaganda. So they came out with a movie called South Park back in like the late 90s. And you had Saddam Hussein in a bed with the devil. And that show you how all these governments and how he was doing business with the U.S. government, man. Because they was homosexuals and shit like that. But they made it seem like Saddam Hussein was the one that brought about the end of the War of Armageddon, World War III. But at the same time, he was literally in bed with Satan, which is the so-called white man. So they all work together, you know. And you can't trust this man. Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thy enemy. It said, for iron is rusted, so is his wickedness. Yeah, you can't trust him. Because when the U.S. show up on your borders with the military and a briefcase for the FRNs, hey, you got to play ball with them or, you know, your country ain't going to be there no more. Okay, that's the same thing they did in Mexico, the same thing they did in Venezuela. You know, they did the same thing. And all these nations that they have military bases in, you know, Taiwan and so forth, they showed up with the military industrial complex and a briefcase full of FRNs and say, look, we'll pay you to let us set up resource and harbor resources and to use your country as bases, man. And whatever we get, we'll give you a percentage of it, and find out that's a lie. Okay, you can't trust them. It says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. It says, and thou should be unto him as thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou should know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Right? So you can't trust Esau. He's a double, you know, he speaks with a double tongue. He say one thing and he totally does something different. Okay, like the scripture said, enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. So, hey, don't trust him. When he shows up, just know that it's wartime. It says, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith, man. And then you got other nations, man, because they have no might. They, you know, they get bullied. But now the world is waking up to this devil. You know, they're waking up to the fact that we're not afraid of you anymore. We're willing to fight you back. And this is what we're seeing take place in the Middle East. Like it tells us in Job, it says, prepare the men for war. Okay, to let the weak say I'm strong. Because they're tired of America and they're just tired of the West, period. And it's really Israel, you know, that's really pulling the strings. They're the puppet master. They're the wizard behind the curtains. And everybody know that America is Israel's bitch. So whatever Israel do or say America, they going to have to follow suit. Okay, don't let all this gesture with Bibi and Trump fool you. At the end of the day, America is going to ride with Israel because they have no choice. That's why those are the two nations that will be obliterated, or the two countries that will be totally obliterated off the face of the earth in the War of Armageddon, which we're quickly approaching. Habakkuk 2. Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to start at verses 5. It says, yeah, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home. Right. The hell you doing in the Middle East? The hell you doing in Europe? The hell you doing over here in America, man? It says, neither keep it at home. Who enlargeth his desire as hell, and as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heaping unto him all people. Right? You know, if you can't play ball with them, they seek to destroy you. It says, should not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long, and to him that laden himself with thick clay? Debt, because as much as he's accumulating, it's nothing but debt. You know, it's debt. Like, why you fuck with the Iranians and you want that oil, but yet you got over 700 years of oil refinery or oil reserves. Mean for you're able to supply your nation with oil for the next 600 to 700 years. Why are you fucking with other people for, bro? You have more than enough. You know, but that's the devil for you. And it says, should they not suddenly rise up that should bite thee, and awake that should vex thee, and thou should be unto booties for them? Yep, booties is spoiled. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people should spoil thee, and because of men's blood, and for violence of the land, of the city, and all that dwell therein. But woe to him that coveteth evil covenants to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. That's right, man. All right. So, yeah, your time of terror is coming to an end, Esau. The nations are tired of you, and they don't want nothing to do with you no more. We can't blame them. All right. Jeremiah 49 and 19 and 9. It says, if gate gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? But it says, if thieves by night, they would destroy till they've had enough. Yeah. Like this dude won't even leave a glean of grapes, like to the point, like if they garnishing your wages, I mean, they'll leave you without. They don't give a fuck. And then when you challenge them and you disprove them in a court of law, they look at you like you the one that's like you the bad guy. Like, how dare you? Like, what the fuck you mean? You the one stealing from me. You know? But anyway, man, I guess I'll play the last of this video, hear what this bitch got to say. But anyway, with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Shai Shai. Lord's will you edify into the next lesson. Shalom. Try to stomach this bride, man, because I sure as hell can't. But, you know, edification is edification. So let's go.
I really don't know, because I guess everybody has to wait to see what's next and see what Iran does. But what should we as Americans be concerned about?
I mean, I would be concerned because Iran really does control some of the most lethal proxy terrorist groups in the world. And just to be clear again, Iran did not start this war. Iran did not attack Israel, and they did not attack us. And people are like, for the first time, the U.S. has struck Iran. Wrong. The United States is responsible for what Iran is. We did that. In 1957, the United States overthrew violently their democratically elected president, Mossadegh, prime minister or president. So Mossadegh comes in, and Mossadegh says, I need to audit the oil company that we now today call BP, because BP was exploiting the oil under Iran, which is one of the most oil-rich countries on earth. And BP was controlling it, and Mossadegh said, my people, the Iranian people, need to be benefiting financially from this. So we want to audit y'all. The British were like, you can't audit us. And he was like, I'm going to do it anyway. And they said no, and he said, fine, I'm going to nationalize Iran's oil. Iran's oil belongs to Iran. And the United States and Great Britain overthrew him and elevated this Shah of Iran. Not a lot of power. Suddenly we turned him into a dictator, who then was a dictator over the people of Iran for 26 years. Brutal. Grabbing people off the streets, which will sound familiar now. Throwing them in prison without trials, which should sound familiar to us. A full-ass dictator we put on top of Iran. And that dictator stayed in place as punishment for the people of Iran wanting their own money and wanting control over their own oil. And that dictator was overthrown in 1978, 1979. This version of Iran that was created under Khomeini, under Ayatollah Khomeini, it started out as a student movement that was overthrowing a dictator we put on top of them. So we attacked them before. We created this monster. And we create monsters all over the world because the U.S. and the West believes they have a right to control other countries. So everyone wants nukes because we drop nukes on Japan. And Iran wants nukes because an expansionist power is in their neighborhood. Israel is a country that keeps growing by taking territory from other people. You know, so if I'm Iran, and again, no love for that regime, horrible to women, treat women horribly, won't let women out of their homes, they're imprisoned in their hijabs, they're in prison, they can't go to school, they're horrible. But the reason their people are...
Shit, bro. Like, just because you out of order, don't be shit on other countries that got their women out of order. Anyway, shalom.